Samantha Miller had always dreamed of becoming a distinguished mathematics teacher. After years of dedication and hard work, she applied for her dream job, only to be unexpectedly rejected. Instead, she was offered a position as the personal assistant to the intimidating CEO of the educational institution, Charles Whitmore. Driven by desperation and a need to survive, Samantha reluctantly accepted the role, unaware that this decision would drag her into a world of psychological torment, dark secrets, and a deadly game of revenge. Under the oppressive and manipulative control of Charles, Samantha's mental health rapidly deteriorated. She became dependent on sedatives and sleeping pills, haunted by vivid nightmares and a chronic headache that no medication could soothe. The constant stress took its toll on her, leaving her a shell of her former self. At the urging of her best friend, Lily, Samantha underwent medical tests, only to be diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor. The doctors gave her only a few months to live. Devastated and filled with rage, Samantha blamed Charles for the stress and anguish that had consumed her life. Determined to make him pay, she devised a plan to torment him, believing that his ruthless behavior was the root of all her suffering. Samantha began subtly sabotaging Charles's life, misplacing important documents, creating tensions among his business associates, and manipulating his schedule to cause him constant stress. One night, in a fit of rage, she confronted Charles at his home and, in a twisted and symbolic act of defiance, threw filthy water in his face, leaving him humiliated and paranoid. As she sped away in her car, Charles, seething with anger, chased after her, only to be struck by an oncoming vehicle. Racked with guilt, Samantha rushed Charles to the hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery. She stayed by his side, pretending to be his fiancée to avoid suspicion from the hospital staff. When Charles awakened, he claimed to have lost his memory, a revelation that gave Samantha an opportunity to continue her revenge by manipulating him further. Unbeknownst to Samantha, Charles was faking his memory loss, using the time to investigate the strange series of events that led to his accident. He discovered that his only trusted friend, Victor, had been conspiring against him, driven by a tragic misunderstanding involving Victor's deceased sister, who had been blackmailed and betrayed by her lover, an old rival of Charles. As Charles dug deeper, he uncovered Samantha's medical condition and her belief that he was responsible for her imminent death. Shocked and conflicted, Charles found himself falling in love with Samantha, seeing in her the only person who had dared to challenge him. However, Samantha, having found Victor's journals and learning of his own vendetta against Charles, decided to turn the tables and manipulate both men for her ultimate revenge. On a cold and stormy night, Samantha decided it was time to end it all. She met Charles in the very office where it all began, the dim light casting long shadows on the walls. She had confessed everything: her sabotage, her plan to ruin him, her belief that she was dying. She stood before him, tears in her eyes, expecting him to hate her, to throw her out or worse. But instead, Charles, who had been sitting silently, stood up and walked slowly towards her. His expression was unreadable, a mix of pain, regret, and something else. Something Samantha hadn't expected: compassion. "Samantha," he said, his voice low and filled with an emotion she couldn't quite place. "I've done many things in my life I'm not proud of. I've hurt people, driven by my ambition and my need for control. But what I did to you, I never realized how deeply it was affecting you. I see that now." Samantha looked at him, her heart pounding. "Charles, I've been so angry, so lost. I didn't know how to deal with what was happening to me. I blamed you for everything, and I wanted to hurt you the way I was hurting." Charles reached out, gently taking her hands in his. "You had every right to feel that way. But Samantha, you're not alone in this. I've come to care for you more than I ever thought possible. I don't want to lose you, not to this, not to anything." Samantha's breath hitched. She had been so consumed by her anger and her illness that she hadn't seen it, the genuine concern in Charles's eyes. The way he had been there for her, even when she was plotting against him. And now, standing so close to him, she realized that beneath all the pain and deception, there was something real between them. "But I'm dying," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Charles shook his head. "You're not. I spoke to the doctors after I found out. They were wrong, Samantha. The diagnosis was wrong. You don't have a brain tumor." Samantha's world spun. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. The weight that had been crushing her for so long suddenly lifted, leaving her feeling both elated and terrified. What do I do now?" Charles pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. "We start over. We leave all of this behind, the pain, the lies, the revenge. We start fresh together." Samantha looked up at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. She nodded slowly, feeling the first real sense of hope she'd had in a long time. "Together," she repeated, as if testing the word on her lips. Charles leaned down, pressing his forehead against hers. "I love you, Samantha. I didn't realize it until I almost lost you, but I don't want to waste another second without you." Samantha's heart swelled with emotions, relief, joy, love. She wrapped her arms around him, pulling him closer. "I love you too, Charles. I never thought I'd say that, but I do. I really do." And there, in the dim light of that office, with the storm raging outside, they shared a kiss, one filled with passion, forgiveness, and the promise of a new beginning. Epilogue. Samantha and Charles left the chaos of their past behind, finding peace in each other's arms. They both knew that life wouldn't be easy, that there would be challenges ahead, but they also knew that together, they could face anything. Victor, having realized his own part in the web of deception, quietly left the city, seeking redemption elsewhere. As for Samantha, she returned to her first love, teaching. But this time it was different. She wasn't alone.